Hello and welcome back to my show. We're going to continue working on the Netrunner browser today. To see where we are, let's go back and see what we had last time. I'll give it an intro too. On the show I'll be working with Fuse, and this card listing is a program we're writing in Fuse, and it's using the netrunnerdb.com to load the cards and browse them, and we'll continue working on this. Since last time, what I've done is let's say I've improved the design ever so slightly, so instead of looking awful now, we just don't look as bad anymore. I wouldn't say good yet. So we left it at this, where you can go into a card and see it. So we have the typical browsing, and you pick a card up and it shows the picture and a little bit of information, not much. We don't have here yet, we don't know what to really show for the card yet. But if you click on it, you get the zoom in. And we have a bug when you click to zoom out. There's a little bit of a jump. I haven't figured that one out yet. In theory, it should be easy. It has to be something I have to probably fix in the Fuse libs, as I'm the primary person responsible for working on Fuse libs animation, because ideally it would just be the inverse of this, but somehow it doesn't quite line up. What we also had last time is filtering. That's where we're at now, filtering, so we can say let's choose All Corporation instead, and we do an update. The update is something we just added manually because I didn't want to keep updating the list yet. We'll do this later so that when you automatically choose one, it'll automatically update, but for now you have to manually update it. So we can go down to 1 and we can see that. What we'd like to do today is, how do we want to do this? We want to do some navigation. Right now we have only a card listing. What we'd like to do is get to a deck listing and possibly the user's own decks or some configuration or something like that. I don't want to focus too much on what's inside those pages today, but let's just do the basic navigation. Now today you'll have to bear with me on a few points that I have a new keyboard, which in positive news is a lot quieter, so when I type, hopefully you don't hear it as much. That should be okay. And because it's a new keyboard, I have the issue that I don't necessarily know where the Control and Alt keys are because it's a Mac and it's external, and every time you plug a new one in, it seems to want to forget what you had before. And the final warning here, some of the features I will be using in Fuse, well, they're experimental. Last time we were using 3 different branches in Dev. Now we're down to using just one branch, so most of the features have been merged. We're just waiting on the one that's, well, probably going to cause us the most trouble. And in particular, what might be an issue is that it may be our navigation. And this navigation, we haven't actually tried this way yet. Well, I haven't personally. I mean, some people have done it, and I technically built half of it, but I didn't use it via the model. So now we're going to see what happens when we combine the navigation I built with the model and everything together, and hopefully not encounter too many problems, but if we do, it's better now while in beta than we release it upon all of you and see what happens. Okay, so let's get started. Now let's see where we are. Let's go to our main view, and let's not save that because I just typed junk. So this is main view. Our main view had a client panel, and we had a navigation, and this was just for the back button. So we have a navigation right here. This is a navigator, but we only have 2 things in it. And that's because if you click on a card, you can go back. That makes sense, right? Okay. I think we'll keep using the same navigator, and because we already pushed pages on it, so we have basically the same navigator, but now we want to add a little menu that gives us an option of going to, let's say, a deck browser. Let's do a simple deck browser, and let's do an Edge navigator for this. And how do we want to do this? Let's put the Edge navigator right at the top. Edge navigator, and this is part of the main page. This is a bit weird sometimes in structuring apps where exactly you want to put it. It's a matter of what you do is that our main navigation is inside the main page. Okay, panel, and this would actually press save it, and load it, and you should see nothing change over there. I mean, it should reload it, but hopefully nothing changes. Now we have a panel. Let's give it a simple background color for now. doc equals left. And let's stick a stack panel in here. Now you could actually make this directly a stack panel, but I tend to avoid doing that for a few different reasons. In that usually you want some sort of decorations, graphics, and you want to specify the background, you want to have padding. There's all sorts of reasons why you'd want to have one layer down so you can control a little bit better the way it presents itself. But let's just put something in here, value equals. Let's give it the title instead. We actually gave it a title, didn't we? Let me look that up first. I thought we might have actually, we have a model state, main state. Did we actually give it a title? We do, title. So we should be able to do title. Let's just go with that and see if we have anything. Oh, that, we can't see it yet, but we have an error. Doc is duplicate attribute, doc. Oh yeah, oh. Color. But what I am not implementing an algorithm today. I'm doing navigation today. That was last time on the Leaf broadcast. I was doing linked list. If you want an algorithm, let me know, and I can do that probably this weekend with Leaf. So today my algorithm is going to be limited to pushing on top of a stack and pushing off the stack for navigation, and that's what I'll be doing the JS here. And okay, so hope I don't disappoint you with that today. We need a way to get to this menu, so let's do this. Can go back, invert equals true. And we have to show something when we can't go back, show some sort of button. Button text equals, just say menu for now. Alignment equals left. And we have to figure out what we want to do in this case. And I actually forget how to do that with the navigator. Well, we're going to have to look that one up. Let's see if it's in our docs. First off, let's see if this actually loads. Well, it does. Oh, yeah. Sorry, it's not doc, it's edge. And so I screwed something up here because this is supposed to be a client panel. Okay, of course we have the menu now, and if we go to a page, oh, that's weird. Okay, I had to click a few times. I think it might have been reloading and I didn't notice it, but okay. We might have to add a busy thing menu. So we have menu there, we just have to make it do something now. Let's see if this is actually something. Let's just do a new window. We have documented how to use the Edge Navigator. It's been a very long time since I've actually used it. I have this very large feature I have to implement. Well, it's not a feature, it's a huge feature set in Edge Navigator that has been sort of left behind for a while. And we don't actually have an example, which is unfortunate. We can open an edge from JS. Is there a way to do that in... Well, let's try the obvious one. Okay, let's just try the easiest way. Let's give it a name. Equals edge nav, edge left, and set edge nav.active equals edge left. This would be the most obvious way. It's very limited, but if it works, then I'll just go with that, and we'll figure out what the reason is later. There we go, that works. So that'd be good enough for now. And the way I say it's kind of it's an obvious way, but it's kind of, yeah, for navigation, you usually want to use some sort of trigger action like the JS, but this works, and it is guaranteed to work. We're setting the active node to be the side, and you should be able to dismiss it though. I don't know why it's not going away. Okay, I'm trying to know why it's going away, but let's just rebuild it for now. So now if we want to actually, let's say dex. What do we want to do? We want to go to dex. And we're going to make a temporary page here. Actually make it called, let's make it called deck view. Deck view. Then we have to create the page. You know, I want to let's say deckview.ux. Let's put a very basic thing here. Just put text somewhere. Value equals deckviewer. Okay, main state, what we need to do is go to deck. What do they call it? Go to dex. We have go to deck. Go to dex, which makes sense. Let's be clear, it should be go to deck view. Don't want to start off too early with random names. Go to deck view. Okay. Go to deck view. Then we can say this dot pages dot I don't even know how to clear all in a JavaScript JS. I can call, just look this one up. I don't want to clear, I want to replace it with so JavaScript replace array with new contents. Well, wait, we don't actually have to do this. This is probably bad, but if I just do this, new deck view, this, we're still going to have to create a deck view. Where do we create that new card listing? Import deck view from /deck view. And let's see what card listing looks like, so we can copy this basically. Well, it's not, it's card listing. It's in the state, card listing. Main state I said from card listing. Okay, card listing looks like this. So let's take the first bit of this and copy. This is all I care about. Create a new file. We're probably going to need the database. We might need card view. I don't know yet. Let's just leave them there for now. Deck view. And this is our main state. This is the bit I really wanted to copy because this is going to be the same. We don't have anything to show here yet, but let's just say it's deck view. And this is part of the Netrunner. No, this is part of the state. deckview.js. Now, did it actually run, or do we have some problem here somewhere? Button does not have a property called value. Button text. Well, that was really early to change. Text. Alright, now it should be rebuilding. Let's just force a rebuild on this. So we still have some issues with rebuilding with all these JavaScript files that it doesn't necessarily load the new ones. I know it's the one that one of my colleagues was talking about this morning, that because we're using transpiling, for example, we're using, this is a lot of JavaScript 6 or ES6, whatever you want to call it, and we have to transpile this into JavaScript 5. The main reason we do this is because some of the most basic features do not work on iPhone 5 anymore, which is kind of unfortunate. So, but it's good because then we have all these new features, all the features we can slowly add. All we have to do is transpile it, and then we suddenly have them there. So now we have a DEX menu, and I have a problem. What's the problem? Cannot deck view, not found. Not found. Okay, what did I do wrong? Deck view. Path. I didn't give it a path. Well, you know what? Let's do this the way that's recommended now, because it wasn't working before. By default, it's going to have the class name. So if I do menu, DEX, there, we got to the deck viewer. We didn't dismiss this though, which is kind of annoying. So how can I get this into the JavaScript? How can I dismiss this? Well, I guess I can do it this way. I can also just do dismiss. There must be a dismiss option. Although I strangely remember this is the one somebody asked for and wasn't there. Yeah, it's a JS method. Wonderful. Okay. Then let's just do it that way. Because as part of the UX, we can actually stick it here in the JavaScript. Let's add another layer of JavaScript. JavaScript exports.dismiss edge. edge-nav.dismiss should work. And we could probably use the other one here now for set edge, but that should be okay. Well, what do I want to happen when they click on a button? Well, it does the interview, and we also want to do clicked handler equals dismiss edge. This is weird now, but I think I want to find a better way to do this. Must be /button. The reason I want to find a better way to do this is because I have two clicked handlers. It is not guaranteeing which order these are called. In our case, it doesn't actually matter, but it's still not something that looks very nice. Whoa, that's not something I expected. Where's that one coming from? Let's do a refresh and hope for the best. Something went wrong still. Okay, let's clear it all. No problems. Let's do a rebuild in case I change something in the JS. This is weird. I haven't seen that error in a very long time. It was like something we had when we first started setting this up. So I'd really like to know what's doing that, but might not be able to right now. But we have to dismiss it, otherwise we have a problem. Okay, so if I do menu, I do DEX, it does both. So I have no idea what caused that error. It's probably the same with the reloading thing. We have the reloading issue. But again, this is a bit, a deck viewer. It's interesting. Wonderful of me to take a deck viewer. I'm going to get rid of anyways, but okay. And card listing. Now in the card listing, you notice we set a path page title. We're going to set this in the deck view as well. Page title equals deck view. I just call it decks. It should be clear that you're viewing them, and the fact that it's a application that you view. I'm uncertain as to why I didn't remember the state now. The idea is obviously that when you refresh this, it keeps the previous state. Although if I modified a JS file, maybe that's the case where it can't. Okay, let's go back to deck view. This is strange. It doesn't actually have the decks title. Why is that? Where is the title shown? The title is shown at the top. Page title. So what does card view do that deck view doesn't do? It has a title. Ah, okay. Now I see why. Deck view, let's just say title equals page title. This has to be a page, yes. Probably make a common page here. Okay, so if I go to the menu and I go to the deck view, now I have decks, it takes the title. Now card view should actually do the same thing. It should use page title because this is coming from the context instead. Wait, this isn't the card view, this is the card listing. Card listing should also take page title. Now if you have a repeated pattern like this, we'll quickly see what we actually want to do with this. So card listing takes a while to respond for some reason. Hello? Why is it not responding? Curious. Got stuck somewhere. Alright. See what happens when I rebuild this. Loading, loading, loading. I'd really like to know what's causing that button to stop responding sometimes. Again, we used to do this in one branch, but it shouldn't be a branch here. So, it still says card listing. Okay, but menu says decks. Oh, we should probably put a way to get back to the other one. Let's go back to card view then. Card view page title. Maybe the card view itself doesn't actually have a page title. That's correct. I'm not sure what the title should be here. I mean, what might be interesting is to show the actual card data. Right, so we have an image here. We have a name of a card somewhere here. Do we remember what the name of the card is? What's on the card view page? Card title is full view somewhere here, and we must be showing the title. Card data.type.name.faction.name. Card image. Where is earth am I showing the title? Text. Card data.title. Okay, there it is. So when we have this should be fun. This dot page title equals card data dot title. The reason this is why I'm binding this all in JS is so that we can actually have the title bound to the actual card it's loading. This is sort of part of navigation because you have the thing at the top. Now it should load. Okay. So see, now it goes 15 minutes once it's on the title. It's exactly what we want. So, an accelerated test. It's in the actual title at the top. Now, given that these are mobile devices, this may not be the best idea to show the title up there because some of these names are kind of long. Alright, if we take the hopper here, we have a small phone. It might work. We have very limited space. It actually takes up less space than the big text here. But if we put a little icon there, it might be okay. Okay, so we have that. And index. So this is one way you can do the title. And what I did is that if you see, every single one of these has this title equals page title. Because this is always the same, we can abstract this a bit. We want all of our pages to actually have the same. Let's call them view pages. There might be special pages, but let's just call a standard one. Let's say page, view page. And we're going to bind the title like this, page title. Page. Okay, sorry. Keyboard changes. Now, page, and we say view page.ux. We might have to organize some of these files a bit cleaner. It's trying to get much. Actually, I might be able to stick this directly into. Let's just stick it here for now. I'm not concerned. So, card listing should now be. We have a view page. If this worked, I should be able to just call this view page now and take off this title. View page. Well, it looks like it works so far for that, but I'm not convinced until I see the other ones. The deck view also has to have a view page. What we're basically done is removing the redundancies. So now the title binding is done in the view page. And this is an assumption of the data structure. If we look at view page UX equals page title, we're assuming we have a model bound here where page title is defined. There's no top level guarantee of this, but it's something we have to watch now. In card view, this will be the one that actually shows if it really works because it's the dynamic one. Also has a title. Okay. This is weird. Okay. And I seem to have locked it again with too much reloading. This is obviously something we have to work on a little bit. So if I do a refresh, does it work? No. Let's do the rebuild again. Something crashed. I'll have to figure that one out later. I'm going to make a note of that. Crashes after several reifis. Okay, so the card viewer shows 15 minutes. You notice it showed card briefly, and that's because this is a dynamic load, obviously. There's not much we can do about that. If we don't have the name yet, there's nothing we can do. I keep clicking on the same ones. There should be a loading thing. There we go. You can see it shortly shows card, then it goes back to this. Okay, and then we go back to decks, and we have the deck viewer. But now, I forgot to put the one to go back to the main menu, so let's go add that now. Let's get rid of the card view, card listing. View page is the common thing now. Main view, we want to have an option to get back to text equals cards, click equals, go to card listing. Should I call this view? I don't know. Naming is always kind of a pain. We never know what the best name is until later. Then you have to rename a bunch of things. But I think view is probably going to start coming up to be a nice name. And we also want to dismiss when they click on this. Dismiss edge. So this is another reason why it's actually not... I mean, how I said it's not good that these are separate. It's also good in the sense that, well, look, we can just call dismiss edge on any one of them. And it'll do the same thing. Now we just need to have a go to, what do they say? Card listing. Card listing, okay. Card listing. Now I can explain a bit more what this is doing here. We can simply replace this array. This is the responsibility of the navigation to actually deal with this fact and figure out what happened. Now I say it's a responsibility of it. It's generally going to do an okay job, but there are some cases where you're going to have to manually control it, and I put some special cases in to handle that. We can look at those later. So now I have decks. Now I can go back to cards. And it goes back to cards. Now look what happens if I go back to cards though again. It stays in the same one. Interesting. But it reloads some stuff. Okay. Stays there. I'm actually not sure why it's recognizing it's the same one, because it's not the same object. So the way we should be doing this is we should be saying something like this. If you have a page you want to reuse, actually let's show the problem first. I'm on this page, I'm on the card listing, and I want to say I want to see all the runners. Can I update it? So now I have only runners. Good, now I go to decks. Now I go back to cards. It's not runners anymore, I've lost the runners. And if we look at the card view, card listing, the filters are part of this object, so when I create a new one, I've lost it. So what we can do instead is we can say this dot card listing plus new card listing this, and use it here instead. Here and down here. Now if I did this right and everything's working, this should retain the filter states on that page when we go back and forth. So let's say all corporation this time, update. Good, we have all the corporations. Now we go to the menu, we go to the decks, now we go back to cards, and we have all corporations with the filters open. This is exactly what we wanted. It keeps the exact same state. You'll notice the review is recycled, but it's okay. We're attached to this state. We don't actually care what the navigator itself actually did. We got back to this state. So this is our basic navigation. I think I had to change the colors of those there a bit. And now it's you notice this missing works too. If you click over here, it goes away. I should have consumed it though. Alright, I think there's a way to make it consume it. It's supposed to be consuming the button press. Something has gone wrong there, I think. In any case, so we get to the decks, and we get to the cards. Let's add one more, just so we have another one so the navigation isn't so simple. Let's add the standard one. Let's do the about box. Why not? It's not an about box though, let's just make it this. Go to about view. Handler equals dismiss edge. So we're going to need an about view. This is always the same process. You have to create the new view, create a class for it, have to register it in the navigator, and view page, we use the same one, class equals about view. It's not part of the Netrunner directory, it's part of the state. I know it is, where is it? State. Oops, Control A, about view. Why did something say middle, center? When in doubt, I just start with the plain color. Padding equals 20. Put a stack panel in here. This value equals, what do we call it again? Title, just title. This should still work everywhere because the context is cascading. Let's just increase the font size a little bit. And we'll put whatever else we can there. Just say drop something. Okay. So that's a card view, but we're also going to need a deck view. Actually, I'm going to remove these from now. I'm going to copy this file entirely because our card view default is going to be about the same. Or I mean our about view.js. About view mainstay page title equals about. And I think that covers everything. We're going to have to probably reify because I changed too much. I also spelled that wrong, so I might have got lucky because I may have blocked it from getting the wrong thing. And I forgot to say go to the about view. About view. We don't need to recycle a view here, we'll just wait for it. And sometimes this isn't bad. It's not always a problem to create a new one, because if you have a state object where there's nothing to retain, and maybe it has a bunch of data in it and you want to free it up afterwards, you can always create it new. Chances are a deck view is something we want to persist, so let's do that one again too. Deck view equals new deck view this dot deck view. Okay, so about view, I forgot to import about view. There's actually quite a bit involved to get a new page set up. So we added the entry here, we added the navigation, we added the about view JS, we added the about view UX. In the main file, we added it to the navigator, we added a button for it. This is actually quite a bit to do to get a new page. But you're only creating so many of these, and I don't see which state we could actually ignore. Maybe someday we could probably have... It seems like something logical like this might be a button we'd have somewhere in the menu here saying create new navigator page, for example, and I would do the basics for you. I don't think it's 100% necessary, but it may help. And I locked it again. It's really when I modify the JS, it seems to lock it. Not entirely sure where that is. Okay. Building. At least we have feedback now. This is actually something new. Let me show this here. Oh, I couldn't show it. This little bit there was new. It's gone now. But okay. Now it's loading, and okay. So now the about view. Yay, exciting, huh? We have the name of it. This is okay because we had the menu. We can go to the cards. The menu, we can go to the decks. We go back to the cards. Cards are still a little bit slow to get to. There's a lot of items it has to create here. Because the navigator discards the items, it has to recreate them. The state it doesn't have to redo, but it does have to redo that. Now, since we're using the back hierarchy, we can't get the menu because it's replacing it. Okay, so let's do it. We can also close this way, I think. Yeah. And Edge Navigator means I can open it that way, just with the mouse thing. I just can't notice it right there. It's sometimes a bit hard in preview because we have an issue that if you lose the mouse, it doesn't know what to do. So you're right on the edge. This works on device though. You can swipe from the edge. This device doesn't have that problem. It doesn't have a window to the left of ours. Let's clean this up a little bit so that we can see something that's not horrible. We change those colors. Now we're using a button now, but there's just no there's no reason to use a button. Let's call this margin equals 5. There's no point putting a text wrapping there. Let's put panel height equals 10 if it's space. And let's create a menu button. Let's call it a panel UX class equals menu button. We can leave the click handler on it. It needs a title. Let's call it string UX property equals label. So we have a label for it. So I'm going to create a class to represent all of them. And it'll be quite simple. Text value equals property of this dot label. What color do we want? Just it's really bright, so let's take something really dark. 0 probably works better, but we should change this background color a bit. Make this even brighter. Nobody likes that dark. And when it's clicked, let's put a common clicked handler as well then. Dismiss edge. So now we should be able to have a menu button. Label equals dex. Clicked equals go to view. Let's modify this one. Simplifies our code and hopefully makes it look a little better. Button. These are kind of packed together too, so let's put some spacing between them. Item space equals 5 as well. Okay. Let's see if we have that menu working now. It was there briefly. I don't know why it went away. Okay. We have decks. Cards. And about. Okay. Now we should put some sort of feedback there. I don't know if those should be centered. Should they be centered? Why not? Alignment equals center. This is the fun thing we do with clicked. We're going to create another clicked one. And I'll tell you why we don't reuse the other one in a second. Change this dot color. Let's make it somewhat bright. Let's blend colors, and if you're going to animate a color, you should always have a starting color. In this case, it's going to look really weird. We're going to have a transparent green, and this is going to be a opaque green. Always funniness. And you notice it starts going away immediately. And this is something where you may want to adjust the feedback, is that I have this handler here, but what if we actually want to do it after the animation? So we could do something like this instead. Remove it. We're going to say, this is why we have something called callback. It's not a frequently used one. We want to say, after we've already flashed it green, then let's dismiss the edge. This gives us fine control over how we dismiss it. Oh, better save that first. And note, because the clicked here is going to call immediately, it'll start going to the page right away, and our animation is layered on top of that. So we have this, and then it goes away. This looks more satisfying, because what actually happens is this gives it, although it's not tied with the page, it gives it the page time to load before we get rid of it. So we click cards, and it loads. Click about and starts animating in. Cards starts animating in. There's a bit of delay cards too. There's a lot of items loaded there, but it should have started right away. We'll figure that out. But we see the basic idea. We have a menu, and the pages come in. It's easy to see on these ones. And we time it. And this is actually good. If we do have a page that takes a while to start, you click on it. It doesn't just start disappearing. You can see it, and then it animates away instead of jumping. This might be an issue with preview right now that is a bit slow, because this page shouldn't take that long, but we create a lot of items here, but it's not more than we'd expect in a normal app. We're using a typical each. I think we can add a defer here, because it's creating them all at once. And That's the fact story. That's not the right each. Each is down here. We're using a scroll view pager, and each reuse. But we don't have a deferred. I think I can add a deferred to this as well. So it doesn't have to do everything at once. Everything, otherwise it will. We always have debate about whether these things are defaults. Let's see if it works first. Defer. So default is actually frame. Immediate is like, I don't recommend anybody ever use that. It's there for certain compatibility reasons. So we're going to use deferred. Defer equals deferred. Sounds silly, but that's the idea. Defer equals deferred. And where'd my viewer go? Oh, not that. I don't need that to be loaded. Dex. A little bit more. It's a bit harder to see though, but you can see that it creates them one frame at a time, and you notice it doesn't. The pause isn't quite there anymore. It doesn't have that long pause, but they still kind of appear pretty quickly because each frame it's going to add one more. Now, if you want to make this more fun, we could add an animation here. Just because we want to. Oh, but we have two different ones. Let's just leave it for now, or let's just do it in one of them. We might want to create a common class here, but okay, let's do layout, animation. No, this isn't adding animation. Adding animation, move x equals 1 relative parent size. Duration equals 0.3. This might look really weird, but you notice that it actually, you saw them add there for a second. If we go back there, it adds some of it. You know, thinking about it, this is actually not what we want though, because we have too much page animation. If you start layering animation, it starts getting weird. If we could control that later on the page itself, that'd be okay. But you also notice over here on the left, watch what happens when I, just a second, move this over here. When I save this file, okay, watch the items come in one at a time. If something actually changed. Just a second. I think we actually need something to change this quickly. 2. Now, we have to force it to do a reify. You notice how it comes from the top to the bottom. This is what the defer is actually doing. The defer is preventing it from all being created on the first frame. So it loosens the load, and that's why the animation can happen a bit better over here. Now we got this area, and interesting. Well, let's just rebuild it, see what happens. A placeholder in a while busy of the same height as the list item could be looking nice. Do you think that would make a big difference? Because these are going to come from the top to the bottom. Oh, you mean if I had an animation as well? I'm trying to think about the while busy. So the comment is we could put a placeholder so while this stuff is loading. But the thing is, I don't think this stuff actually loads. Because our filtered cards here, the moment this filtered cards is populated, we have all the data for this already, so there is actually no busyness here. Right? By the time this template's instantiated, Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying. That's just saying I don't have a list item to render. I can't put something here as a placeholder because the items, if I don't have an item, there'll be nothing to put the while busy on. And if I do have the item, yeah, no, deferred is just for when it creates the items. The case where you'd have a while busy on here, so the idea is you'd have a while busy and you'd show something else and you'd show a panel or something. And we should probably never see this one. And I'll show you just in a second. We'll put that on top. We'll probably never see this one. And this makes a lot of sense that we don't see it because, and this is the way we did filtered cards. This actual listing here, if you look at all the places where we do bindings, there's nothing, there's no dynamically loaded data here. This is all part of the filtered cards. So what that means is that by the time this item's created, the time this template is created, all of these bindings are already existing. So while busy has no chance to do anything. While busy is basically never true. The moment while busy exists, the moment this template's instantiated, there's nothing to wait for. It's already all there. This would be very different. This is what we did in the card view page. If you remember on the card view page, this is where we had a while true. And this could actually be redone with a while busy, but we did a while true right now for loading. And actually I should look at doing that with a while busy. I'm going to make a note of that. While true to while busy, so we can actually change that at one point. I have to look it up. Because look, hooking into the while busy mechanism is sometimes nicer than doing our own But to answer the other question, that having it deferred on here should definitely be enough. The actual items here aren't costing us anything. It costs us no cost. Deferred here, and I think this is an issue with maybe preview. Because we have this scroll view page here, we're not actually creating that many items. It's only about 3 times the size of the screen. So how many do we have on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. About 15, so about 45. Deferred isn't rendering. Deferred doesn't refer to actual, well, yeah, how would we do that? So what the deferred is actually doing is the creation of the item. We would actually have to create a whole new feature if we wanted to have a placeholder for the item itself, which is being deferred. I'm not sure. I don't know if that would actually help then, because then if you're actually adding it to the deferred queue, you'd still be running the overhead of actually creating an empty item. So if you had like a temporary item, you would still have to create that item, and that would kind of defeat the purpose of deferred, because then you'd have this huge initial load, or not huge, but you'd have the same load of creating all these busy panels, and that's what the purpose of defer is trying to do, is get rid of those busy panels. If you really wanted that, you could create the manual structure where you had like your template was actually a panel with a deferred in it. But I've seen this in other code, and this has the disadvantages that you're not avoiding part of the initial setup cost. So this defer equals deferred here is supposed to be enough. And it should be enough. I think it's really just a preview issue now, and we have to figure out why that is. And you don't see the initial load, but we actually definitely see it here. When we go to this cards menu, you have that momentary pause, and actually, to be honest, now that I have deferred, I'm not positive this is actually a rendering issue anymore, or is this actually a tree observable issue? That is the data coming from the JavaScript. But the data shouldn't be new either, so I'm not entirely sure why it's a bit slow there. But the fact it was slower when I did them all at once does imply kind of a preview issue. But we'll have to see. I can't see off the top of my head. It's something I'm going to have to actually investigate. And we lost button press again. Oh, it just went really slow. It's weird. Okay. Oh, so now we had something weird happen. Click on because the thing locked, we were capable of clicking on something several times before it got to the new page. Once we're in navigation, the pages are blocked, but before you get to navigation, they're not blocked. And that was just an anomaly then because the preview wasn't responding. We were capable of clicking multiple times. Okay, what's this giving us as problems now? Yeah, this is probably the issue of the mouse. We don't know why it causes that yet. Is there any navigation we could be doing right now? Anything else to add for navigation, or is that basic navigation enough? Let me go over again how we did this navigation. In the main view, we created an edge navigator. This is the part right here. We have an edge navigator, and we have something we put on the left edge. If we look at the browser, or this is what we have. This is the left edge. This is the one here marked left edge. This is this whole thing here. This whole thing here is the left edge. So this my drawing thing on the desktop doesn't stop mouse from interacting. Anything not in the edge is considered main content, so that's down here. The main content is the one labeled down here, the client panel. The reason it's main content is because it doesn't have this edge marker. It's missing it, so it's the main content. In the main content we have the title bar, so everything the main content has is title bar. And if you can't go back, which is this one, I'm going to explain this invert property here. Invert, the reason we have invert is because quite often you have conditions that you have things like while can go back. Now we don't want triggers like while can't go back, because that starts getting silly for everything. While can't go back, can go forward, while can't go forward. Or while true, we have a while false in that case, but a lot of the triggers, it gets really confusing as to what the inverse should be named, so we just said invert true. All these triggers have it. You just say, well, if this one's not on, then this one's on. And in this case we showed a menu button. And the menu, we toggle the edge navigator here, right there, the av, and we do it by setting directly the edge we want. And we set it by active. Now, each one of those, this opens a menu, and the menu items have these go-to functions. And the go-to functions are in main state.js. Is your go-to, and these work by manipulating the pages that the thing is bound to. So this is pages. We say card deck view, card listing, or about view. And again, this is bound down here in navigator. Navigator, we see pages equals pages right here. This is the basis of how state-based navigation can work. It's also combined with UX navigation, because go back obviously works, and that combines it though. And then for each of the items we have the templates that define it. This time we have a template that matches the name of the class, deck view, about view. It's not this class it's matching though. It is in the UX, where's the JS file? Deck view. It's the name of this class it's matching. So right here we have deck view. This name becomes the default template name for the view, so it matches template deck view. Right, and those views, I think that's about it for the navigation. That's generally how the navigation works. I wanted to just cover just the basics today because I don't have many places else to navigate. Next time we can maybe look at actually populating that dex list with the standard dex that they provide on Netrunner DB. Or we can look at fixing minor things. We'll go to hamburger menu, but I wanted to figure out something with fonts first. Let me show you one of the problems we have with fonts that I'm uncertain how to handle yet. Hello. I did it again. That's strange. Okay. Anyways. Now, if you look at this text down here, we have a couple problems with fonts. I can't highlight text because that's just, the way it is. We have all this text down here. This is what I'm looking at, okay? In particular, I'm looking at this part right here. Okay. This credit, let's get rid of it, and this credit, and this trash. These aren't really part of the text. This is actually a font replacement. And that font we took last time, the one that shows the faction symbols, actually has fonts as characters for credit, credit, and trash. But we need a way to display them here. And it isn't just a matter of using that font, because what I need to do is actually have a fallback. I need to replace this with some special character and make sure the font, and then have a fallback. It probably work right now because I don't care about the fallback, but I've asked them we need to find a way to actually have multiple fallbacks for font. So I can say Netrunner font, and then say a sans serif font, and then the system fallback, and then that would work. This bit here about strong, not a lot I can do about this now. Okay, there we go. This requires rich text rendering. We just don't do that yet. We're going to need to find a way to do rich text rendering. We simply cannot string things together at the moment. Okay, I think that's it for the show. I want to thank you for watching again, and we'll keep working at this, and I'll probably do some other programs in between, not just this Netrunner browser. And because there's a lot of small problems cropping up, and I don't want to sit here and debug them on the show, I'm going to start working on some of the bits here outside of the show, so don't be surprised if you tune in. It has a lot more little things changed, or it's gone a bit further. This is going to become one of our example programs. I mean, not like a formal example, but one of the ways we test a lot of our new features in navigation and models, and the combination of those two, and the JavaScript combination in particular. So I hope you like the show again. Don't forget to follow me and support me on Twitter and Twitch, and I look forward to seeing you next time then.